Hello internet. I'm clearly freezing as I'm in this jumper, but I want to be outside for as long as absolutely possible this year, so here we are. For today's video, I do want to talk about something a little bit personal, but I'll get to that in a minute. First, I just want to say I'm finally moving. I'm moving to Plymouth. I'm finally doing that PhD thing I've been talking about basically since I started making videos. I've been accepted to a PhD candidacy at the University of Plymouth, which I'm really excited about since it's my family's hometown. And I chose to go there because I've had some really positive experiences with my potential supervisor there. I already have a house, I'm looking at jobs, things are moving really quickly, and I'm so excited. I've been in limbo, as you know, for a while. I've been living with my grandmother for the last few months while I've been working on my dissertation, and I wasn't working very much and I was trying to save up. I literally didn't even have money to leave the house except to go to work. I stayed inside all the time and I didn't do anything. I couldn't go anywhere. It was too hot to enjoy the sun. I get heat stroke really easily, so unless there's a lot of shade, I can't be outside long. And so I was bored with my life. Not even like as a mood, I guess. I love staying here and visiting and stuff, but my grandmother worries a lot, so I just sort of never left the house. On top of that, my zero waste progress has all but stalled because she didn't want any of the extra stuff lying around, which is fair. I'm her guest. But when someone like her, who again, I love dearly, is so committed to her own routine that she absolutely refuses to break because this is her house and I have no business trying to change that, it just makes it really hard to be yourself. And I've just been really struggling with that and just feeling trapped over the last couple of months. So I'm really excited to live on my own again. I'm much better at living on my own than with family anyway. So I'm really looking forward to starting this new chapter in my life. Now, I feel like my social media has not shut up in the last couple of months about my dissertation and PhD plans, and even I'm kind of annoyed with it at this point. I'm not a study blogger, I don't try to be, so when that ends up being the majority of my Instagram, it again bores me a little, especially when I've been trying to use the last couple of months to figure out who I really am and what I really want. But again, not being able to do very much means it's really hard to be myself, so it's been really frustrating. A second layer to that is that I suffer from severe social anxiety, and the fact is I have a really limited social life. I have friends, but they live really far away and have gone back to the States by now anyway. Even when they were here and I was closer and I wasn't saving up, I didn't always feel like going out. Last summer was an exception. I had a couple of friends, we had a routine, we'd go to a bar and we watched Game of Thrones and hang out, and it was really great. I really enjoyed doing it, so the fact is I can have a really good social life. When I moved to London, I was back at square one. I only knew my family and that was really hard. When I can't go out for either logistical or anxiety reasons, I only know one or two people anyway, it starts to get really lonely, and that just makes the anxiety worse. When you don't leave the house, you stop wanting to, and that's no help to anyone. Since I'm moving, I'm starting over, and I'm making a commitment to being as much of myself as absolutely possible. And I'm making this promise too. I'm going to make a real effort this time in my social life and to help with my social anxiety. One thing that's not caused my social anxiety, but certainly exacerbated it, is my lifelong experience with toxic people and toxic relationships. And I really wanted to take some time to talk about this because I feel like it's something a lot of people can relate to. And for a long time, I've been letting these toxic people go from my life, especially recently. Last summer, when, like I said, I was feeling much more confident in my social life, I started cutting people out completely. This actually initially started when I first left for university. I stopped talking to the people I went to high school with. I would still act like we were best friends when I saw them, and I would still follow them on social media. I knew they wouldn't be doing that for me. I've made jokes about being a nobody in high school on this channel before, but I went home to work last summer, and people who I'd been in classes with, worked in groups with, been friendly with for 3 or 4 years didn't even recognize me. Well, normally that was something that wouldn't even faze me. You know, it was a wake-up call for me where I started to realize, fuck them. If they don't want to be a part of my life, they're not going to be. And this leads me into why I had such a problem with toxic relationships. From the time I was literally in the first grade, my social anxiety was such that I couldn't make my own friends. I was and am to this day very good at meeting people and getting along with them, but not becoming real friends with them. I just can't bring myself to make that move to say, hey, let's be friends, or even text them after we've exchanged numbers. I have this fear of being judged for wanting to be someone's friend that's kept me from having having real friends. I would sit alone by myself until someone took pity on me, and then I didn't have friends. I had people who pitied me. And these were often the people who people didn't like them, and for good reason. So there were significant periods of my life where I just didn't like any of my friends, and I thought everyone else hated me, so I couldn't abandon our friendship, only to find out at the last possible second if we were moving, if they were moving, if we were graduating, or whatever. It wasn't me that they didn't like, it was my friends. So I missed out on potential opportunities for actual friendships. And this happened to me like 3 or 4 separate times. Seriously. The reason no one liked these people was because that most of them were insanely manipulative. There were long stretches of my life that I just felt absolutely worthless because a friend made me feel that way, and they had convinced me that they were the only ones there for me, and I became dependent upon them. For a long time, I didn't realize this was emotionally abusive. When I did, I wrote a piece about it for the school paper. The only piece that I wrote that was ever published that I got credit for, long story. I wrote about these relationships and how they made me feel, and I got really positive feedback on it. Things in high school didn't really change, not until the very last day. And after high school, I said I was done with these people, and I was. A few people I had met were really cool, and if you're one of them, you probably know who you are because we still talk. Simple. But when I went to uni, I promised myself I was done with toxic people for good. There were a few people I ran into in college that were a bit toxic, but I recognized it quickly and we're not friends anymore. Realizing this and changing over the course of uni really affected my interactions with these people from high school that I stayed in loose conversation with. The problem was that a lot of me treated me like the girl I was in high school. Not just a socially anxious introvert, but an easily manipulated pushover. But what a lot of them don't realize is that I'm not that girl anymore. And maybe they don't realize it because the social anxiety never really went away. Being so shy and unwilling to talk to people has made people who used to walk all over me think that they still can. I don't know if they just never changed in college or if they think that once you're back with your high school friends, everything just sort of reverts. That being said, I went to high school in a town where people don't really leave. And if they do, they go to universities with a bunch of their high school friends. So when they grow together. And I didn't grow with these people. So having that distance made me realize that I didn't need to put up with their shit. Over the last few years then, and certainly last summer, I just stopped caring. I stopped letting these people back in one way or another. And it's not been easy. I very recently removed a person from my life who I'd been close to for many years. We grew apart from each other, as you do, but what happened was that this person didn't realize this and made comments to me about how I wasn't the same girl that they knew and weird shit like that, which by the way, don't say to someone. It's really rude. And when I tried to talk to them about how it made me uncomfortable, it just made things worse. And even though we've stopped talking regularly, the conversations we do have are problematic. I'm doing my best to distance myself. I bring this up because when I was in high school, I couldn't imagine living without these people. I had become so dependent that the thought of never talking to my ex again was horrifying. But now that I've removed them from my life, I don't miss them. I never thought I'd say this, but I don't. I think that's some real advice I can give here when it comes to toxicity. It's really hard to cut these people from your life, horrifyingly hard. They keep sucking you in, making you pity them, so you have to be the one to be there for them in their hour of need. If they're not going to be there for yours, that tells you something. One of my best friends and I had horrible fights in high school. We always made up and we were always still close, but we talked less in university, and this allowed us to grow as individuals. So when we reunited last summer, we were able to approach each other as adults. And it's one of the most successful friendships I have had for a really long time. All you need is a break from a person for a while, that's fine. Sometimes that's what works best. But if you also know that no matter what you do, that person will never see you as you are, but a person that they think you are, maybe it's time to release yourself from them. And the biggest thing I can say is yes, it's hard, but honestly, once you've been away from them a while, you just don't miss them anymore. Like breaking up with someone. It's rough for a while, but once you realize you've made the right choice, you feel better. And you will, I promise. Anyway, so I've made this effort to really be myself and be true to who I am. I've talked before about how much I love personality theory, and there's something about my personality type that's really helped me when it comes to these relationships. Personality hacker calls it authenticity, that for people with my personality type, if something doesn't feel right, I cannot do it. Like quitting a job that feels toxic, which I've done, or leaving the teaching track, which I loved because I wasn't sure if I could only have one career path for the rest of my life. When I started writing again, it felt right. Finding my PhD path felt right. This can apply to relationships too. If a relationship doesn't feel right, I would remove myself from it. Full stop. If I feel like they're not putting in the effort, neither will I. And I've lost friends that way, but I don't miss them. This brings me back to why I started this video in the first place. My social anxiety has improved, but not working very much and staying in to work on my dissertation and not having money to go into London or do anything has caused significant backsliding. What I need to do is force myself into social situations for a while, whether that be societies in Plymouth for English students or doctoral doctoral students or just students. If that's finding a way to play my music again, or take dance classes, or joining zero waste or conservationist groups, hanging out with people, whatever job I get, stuff like that. And if I hit it off with someone, I am promising myself, making a commitment that I will follow up with that first meeting. I'll make a real effort to go out sometimes and be transparent when I just need an introvert's day in. A big problem I've had is not getting invited places because people think I'll say no. And I probably would some of the time, but not being asked does sting. I'm not going to put myself in that position anymore. I don't need a massive friend group, and I don't necessarily want one. I cannot live trapped inside my grandmother's house anymore. So in moving, I promise that I will make the effort. Even if it means doing things I'm not comfortable with, even if it means getting professional help if it gets that bad. I don't like being lonely. It's a really shitty feeling, and the thing is, I don't have to feel this way if I don't want to. And I don't want to. Here is my promise, and I'm using you guys to hold me accountable. I promise that I will make an effort to be present in the world, to figure out who Amelia Boone is as a person and stay true to that person always. To only surround myself with people who make that person better and not who tear her down. I am so sick of watching my life pass me by while I watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine for the 50th time. No regrets on the first 49, though. It's a great show. I want to be present, so that's my promise. I know that was a lot, but when it's on the internet, I can't back out. And if I'm honest, starting this channel has been a big factor in giving myself confidence and figuring out who I really am. If you go back through my old videos, at a certain point you can tell that I stopped knowing what I wanted to do. It shows. Once I decided to throw a theme to the wind and talk about whatever I wanted, it allowed me to get in touch with who I am and not who I thought I should be on the internet. It's given me an outlet to show people the real me and not the girl who cowers in the back of the classroom and stays at home all the time. It's the perfect place to put this commitment and make sure I stick to it. I'm being held accountable by every single person watching this video. It's something I need to say and something I need to do. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to anybody who can hold me accountable. Putting this story out there can not only resonate with people who've also had trouble with toxic relationships, but it'll really help me, really keep to this promise, because I'll be honest, I'm really nervous about it. I'm nervous about moving, and I'm nervous about trying to make new friends. If putting it out here can help me, I really appreciate it. In that vein, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's watching. I hope you liked it, and even if you didn't really like it, that you learned something about me. I guess it's weird, and I'm excited about leaving, but it's a lot sometimes to try and build up confidence when you're not really a confident person. So anyway, if you do want to see more videos from me, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you want to, hit that notification bell. Why not? Fancy. As usual, I will put all of my social medias in the description box below. If you want to specifically tell me you're holding me accountable, hit me up. Why not? I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone for watching. I post new videos on Fridays. Bye!